Hello and welcome to this episode of Got 10 Minutes. We're super excited to have Bruce Marable on the show today from Employee Cycle. So before we get started, Bruce, the same question we love to ask everybody. Do you got 10 minutes?
Why not? Let's do it.
All right. Well, go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. I'm Bruce Marable, co-founder and CEO of Employee Cycle. I am I guess the term that people like to use is serial entrepreneur. I've created multiple startups, web design and app development company. And my previous startup was a recruiting software company that got merged into another company in the HR space. And basically what I realized over the past few years is that HR reporting sucks. Most HR leaders don't have the time, skill set, resources to do any of the things around data visualization, data aggregation, and most importantly, data analysis. And so what our company, Employee Cycle, does is offer you a people dashboard that has pre-built connectors to the most popular and best-in-breed HR systems that companies roughly between 50 and 500 employees are using. So this is your Greenhouse, Zenefits, Sapling, Namely, Bamboo HR, Culture Amp 15.5, all of those different systems across your HRIS, recruiting, engagement, performance, and other specific areas of HR, so that instead of you pulling messy, crappy manual spreadsheets from all those areas, we automatically pull all that data together into one beautiful and centralized view so that we can become the fastest and easiest place for you to be able to answer all your workforce questions.
That is wonderful. And as an HR person, I for sure can say, I've never met a recruiting person, a leader who loved the recruiting system, and for sure having to aggregate and get all the information to go into one place and build dashboards is less than ideal. So if you have a system that aggregates all of that, that's kind of perfect. So I think you kind of hit on it, and you described Employee Cycle. And did you say how long you guys have been in business?
We've been around for a couple of years.
Couple of years? All right, that's awesome. And obviously having a lot of success. And so one of the things I did want to know about is who's like your ideal customer? So you kind of hinted at organizations, maybe over 500 folks. Anything, beyond that?
Sure. So our ideal customer is a company that has 50 to 500 employees. We can go up to 1,000, but we're really in between 50 and 500, small HR team, maybe an HR team of one, or small enough where they don't have an HR analyst, they don't have somebody working in people analytics, and really they are pulling data manually to try to answer workforce questions. They're pulling data manually to provide data to different department heads. They're pulling it manually to give to investors, advisors, private equity that may own their company, or the C-suite. And it's just a mess. It's a terrible manual process. It's time consuming. And by the time that you are providing information, they've already asked you for questions that you haven't had the time to be able to answer already. And so you're always in this reactive state. And so for us, we're really about making this whole process proactive so that instead of it taking you, 90% of your time actually pulling the data together and only 10% of the time analyzing the data, we want to make it 0% of the time pulling and visualizing the data together so that 100% of your time is focused on understanding what does this data mean to you, and then really doing all the really hard and useful and actionable people work, which is making the workforce better and not doing tedious tasks like HR reporting.
Yeah. And there are so many HR departments of just one person, So and you're kind of helping them with other duties as assigned. And I think a lot of HR people really get slammed with other duties as assigned, right? Kind of that catch-all bucket. And it's like, I'm not a data analyst. But then, you have to become one, but your system helps them become one and look really good for leaders.
For sure. And when it comes to using data, it's not just about having the data for the sake of having it, but it's about using it to make it a case. A lot of the times, HR is one of the least data-driven departments that's using data to make a case for a specific effort. So using data to say, hey, we have a lot of turnover in this department, or our engagement scores are low in this department, maybe we need to do training here. And instead of HR being, smacked down and saying, oh, no budget, we can't do this, or HR coming back a lot of the time saying, oh, we don't have money for this, or can't get money for the HR department. Instead, you're coming to the table like the CFO, like the head of sales, like the head of marketing, saying, hey, we were here, we need to be here. Here's the use case. This is why we need it. Here's the ROI. Give me the budget. And you still might not get it, but at least now you're in a position where it's like, okay, that makes total sense. Numbers driven. Obviously, there's going to be a qualitative side to it as well because we're dealing with people, but to be able to make that use case, make that argument from a data-driven standpoint, and then measure and track your progress to show that the budget that you were given actually did make an impact on the company, that totally transformed HR to a much more strategic and thought-leading role.
Right, yeah, be a strategic partner versus where HR is like soft skills. It's like, no. I'm going to come to you and approach leaders the way they make decisions. And I think that's awesome. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier was that your system sort of pulls in or aggregates all of the information. And so are there like specific tools that maybe some of our viewers like know of, like by name? Are you okay mentioning by name? Like we integrate with these specific systems?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so for the HRIS payroll systems and category, we're pulling from systems like Bamboo, Namely, Zenefits, Sapling, ADP, TriNet. For the recruiting side, a lot of companies in the space that we're talking to are using Greenhouse, but we also are looking to integrate with Lever, Jazz, JobScore. In the engagement and performance, we're really seeing a lot of companies in our target market use systems like Office Vibe, 15Five, Culture Ramp, Lattice, and Small Improvements. And then on the employer brand side, we're looking at Glassdoor, but there are other systems that are coming up in the employer brand side as well.
Awesome. And so I know for a lot of HR folks, you usually have to get IT assistance for a lot of this to happen. If there's like APIs and other things that you're pulling from, with your system, like what does that look like for folks and a typical timeline for implementation?
So glad you asked. We have worked our asses off to make Employee Cycle one of the shortest time to value products possible. And what I mean by that is you can actually go to our account or go to our website, create a free account. You can go to your system, call it Bamboo HR, generate an API key, drop that into our dashboard, and within 4 hours, you could have your dashboard fully functioning, ready to go, ready to share with all your managers and everyone else. And you could do that with almost all of the systems that we integrate with. So we really want companies to be able to make this self-service, especially now when companies are scrambling to get more visibility into their remote workforce. So you can't just walk around the office and say, oh, here's our diversity, here's our turnover, here's how many people we have, because a lot of people are working from home. And then a lot of companies are now scrambling and putting a lot more focus on diversity metrics as well, which we automatically pull and help you tell a story around that data as well.
Yeah, and I think every HR leader should pay attention to what you just said, because as someone who's implemented technology, there's usually all this other stuff after it gets there, but if it's just getting the key and your system pulls it in, that is going to save them so much time. And that's sometimes, on the other end, on the other side, what the salesperson doesn't tell you, right? So what you just said is amazing.
You heard it here first. Yeah. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's so different from other companies' approaches. So what I was also going to say is, we've switched up, got 10 minutes to focus on entrepreneurs and founders of color. And so I didn't know if there's anything you wanted to share about your experience before we wrap up today.
Sure, and I appreciate that. And I just appreciate being on this show in general. Thank you so much for having me on. But in regards to being a founder of color, one of the interesting things that I've been telling other founders that aren't of color is that when they think about their experience and their privilege, one of the things that I've been saying is that when they are selling, when they are hiring, and most importantly, when you're going for funding and raising capital for your startup, you never have to worry about whether or not that funding didn't happen or that deal didn't close based off of the color of your skin. And so 99% of the time, you can always assume that it either wasn't a good fit or they just didn't resonate with what you were doing, or maybe you didn't have enough traction or whatever it was, not enough customers. But for founders of color, it's a whole different dynamic because you never know if that's the reason why something didn't happen. And unfortunately, you have to over compartmentalize. And that's basically something that I've always had to do, because I can't go into every deal or every conversation thinking that this person may not invest in our company or work with us because of what I look like. Because if I did, then I would have lost before the conversation even started.
Right.
So every time I leave the conversation, in the back of my mind, I know that that always is a potential reason for me not to get that funding or that deal or whatever I was looking for, that partnership. But I can never go into that, and I will never know. And honestly, it's not like there's a black version of me and a white version of me, and then I can A/B test and see what happens. Nope, just get one, Black Bruce, and that's just how it goes. And so just play the cards that were dealt and continue to build a kick-ass product and serve the market so that regardless of who I am and what I look like, customers will still appreciate the value that we provide.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I want you to tell folks where they can learn more about you and your kick-ass product. So where can people find you?
Sure. You can go to employeecycle.com. You can either sign up for a demo or you could sign up for a free account to get a 14-day trial. And I wanted to let people know on your show that due to budget restraints or budget freezes, we don't want price to be a barrier for companies not to be able to do this work. And so we're offering companies the ability to use Employee Cycle right now for $100 a month.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I will be sure to put that in the comments too.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone, follow Bruce, check out Employee Cycle. You can obviously,
Employee Cycle!
Yeah, like pretty much risk-free at this point to try it. So hop in there. So Bruce, thank you so much. And thank you for also having me on the Employee Cycle podcast. So everyone check that out as well. I think they've been releasing daily, or at least they were a while ago. HR issues with other HR leaders and knowledge sharing there. So Bruce, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you as well. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.